Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Matt's Mind here on the channel. If you guys are unfamiliar with this Q&A series here on the channel weekly, if you guys have any questions or topics for discussion, go ahead and comment them down below in the comment section. Of course, drop a like on the video. If you guys are brand new to the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you guys know as soon as I post these videos. Question for today comes from Tarful Studios. You see LEGO restarting Lord of the Rings because of the new TV series, plus the recent Token movie. I recently have high hopes. Now, I believe, at least in my opinion, I'm not too sure of the official reasoning as to why LEGO stopped the Lord of the Rings line. From what I can understand, it was a pretty successful, pretty lucrative line. A lot of people like it. You guys know, if you guys have watched my vlogs recently, a lot of people that I know start to collect minifigures from Lord of the Rings and build Lord of the Rings MOCs. So I don't think it was ever a question of popularity for Lord of the Rings, but I do think it's because it was a little bit more of on the violent side. You guys know LEGO typically likes to stay away from lines that have real weapons or stuff like that. However, you could make the argument that Lord of the Rings and like the castle theme are very, very similar. Both of them use swords and stuff like that. So I really don't know why they stopped Lord of the Rings. I can only imagine it was, again, for like the violence and stuff relating to the pretty gruesome movies. Could I see LEGO redoing Lord of the Rings for the new movies coming up and the Token movie? Of course. I think it would be really, really beneficial for LEGO. I know a lot of people love Lord of the Rings. In fact, it's probably one of my top 5 lines of all time, and I'd love for them to bring it back, so I don't see why LEGO wouldn't. I would hope they do, especially with the new movies and the new Token stuff coming out. So I do eventually hope that they do remake the Lord of the Rings stuff. I think it's one of the best lines LEGO's ever done. A lot of the best sets that we've ever seen have come from the Lord of the Rings line. Next question here comes from Lego Panther 21. A question from Matt's Mind, episode 16. If you were going to make a historical MOC for a war, what would you do? Civil War, Vietnam, World War I, World War II, Afghanistan, stuff like that. So I've always been a pretty big history buff. I've always been fascinated by World War II, so I'd probably have to do World War II. I'd love to actually do like the Battle of Berlin when the Russians sort of invade Germany and sort of end the war on the Eastern Front there. I also really like to do D-Day. Obviously, that is one of the most done MOCs, I guess, for military builders, and obviously one of the most iconic sort of battles from World War II. But if I had to choose one specific war, I'd probably do World War II. Like I said before, I'm a huge history buff. I grew up playing the older Call of Duties like Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3 and World War II, playing a whole lot of other World War II strategy games. So if I had to choose one, I'd definitely go World War II. I'd also like to eventually venture into like modern day war against like terrorists, stuff like that in Afghanistan. I think that'd be really cool. Hopefully this video doesn't get flagged for me just saying the word terrorists, but I think it would be really cool to recreate LEGO MOCs and dioramas with like the newer technology, stuff like that, warthogs, planes, Abrams, stuff like that. So if I had to go with one, I'd definitely choose World War II, but I'd also like to venture into the modern day conflicts. Next question here comes from Forever LEGO Studios. My question for this week: what are you most excited to see at Brick World Chicago and Brick Fair Virginia, whether it be MOCs or people? I think you actually kind of answered the question. It's definitely the MOCs and the guys there. You guys know I love to obviously see all the amazing creations. Chicago has some of the best MOCs I've ever seen, especially like that one bridge from last year with all the lights and a lot of other stuff like the castles. But as you guys know, you've probably seen a couple of videos where I mentioned this. The best part about conventions for me is definitely hanging out with everybody. You only get to hang out with everybody all together 2-3 times a year, so you really have to cherish it and have fun, make the most of it. Obviously, I love vlogging and recreating the content for you guys to see on YouTube, so definitely seeing the people hanging out, going out to eat, doing activities, hanging out around the conventions, listening to music, talking with the public, looking at the MOCs, definitely got to be the highlights of the conventions. That's why I'm so excited for it. This year should definitely be awesome. And of course, I'll plug this really fast. I'll be at the Empire Log table at Brick World Chicago and Brick Fair Virginia this year, and maybe even Brick Fair New Jersey. Next question here comes from the Brick Tour. Great video, Matt. Love it. Thank you. My question is how to make smoke in LEGO. So if you haven't seen my recent Kessel video, or I guess my Kessel MOC in general, I'll leave a link down below in the description to the finale. Basically, what I did for the smoke coming from the acid pools was actually using ice cream pieces and then stacking them one on one. Now, again, I'll leave a link down below if you want to go ahead and check that out. That technique, it's very simple. Most of the time, that part is on your local pick-a-brick wall, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of. I haven't really sort of messed around with any sort of other designs. I've typically liked the ice cream pieces, stacking them one on top of another. I think it looks great, so that's definitely the technique I would recommend. But in terms of other stuff, I haven't really sort of messed around with other stuff. Next question here comes from Nice Bricks. Would you like to see a remake of the first battle packs, for example, the new one with the phase 2, or the 2 white phase and 2 troopers, a shock trooper, 327. So I'm assuming you're basically talking about the older clone battle packs. To answer your question, yes, I would love to see a sort of another rendition of the Army Builder battle packs, that being the ones that came with all clones, right? We have 2 or 3 normal Phase 1 clones, then we have the named clone or the Shock Trooper or the Lieutenant, whatever that be. You guys know LEGO has done a lot of battle packs recently where they throw in 2 like Army Builder figures, and then they have 2 unique ones, for example, the Jedi Clone battle pack. As you guys know, I actually made that into a pretty funny video. But to answer your question seriously, yes, I would love for LEGO to bring back the purely build army or army builder battle packs when it comes with the majority of figures in which they are those army builders, the generic troopers or something like that, whether that be clones, stormtroopers, battle droids, something like that. That's not to say I'm not necessarily 100% opposed to LEGO doing the recent battle packs where they do add in the 1 or 2 specific Jedi minifigures or throwaway minifigures. I would love for LEGO to do those army builder battle packs again. I think that would really just make me so happy, and a lot of the community, I think. This question comes from Judah Laisley. If you could have LEGO make any battle pack other than a 501st one with 4 minifigures and or droids and a build with around 100 pieces-ish, what would it look like? I would personally like a Phase 2 battle pack. We haven't gotten Phase 2 LEGO in a very, very long time, so I would love 4 minifigures. I would love 3 normal, plain Phase 2 clone troopers, and the second I'd probably like to see maybe an ARC Trooper Rex, or I guess if we're not doing 501st, I'd probably say an ATRT driver, and then an actual legitimate ATRT build that's to scale correctly. I think that is my ideal clone battle pack. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. What would you like to see in your sort of ideal LEGO clone battle pack that we haven't seen necessarily either in a long time or at all? This question here comes from Yanni Mendina. Do you think there should be more Clone Wars sets? If so, what ideas do you have that are not remakes? So, obviously with the new Clone Wars season coming out, I really do hope that LEGO is going to be returning to clone stuff. As far as stuff that's not released yet, that LEGO hasn't done, the only big thing I'd like to see is maybe like a UCS ATTE or like a gunship and then a Venator, a UCS Venator. I think that would work really, really well. But if you really think about it, LEGO has done a lot of stuff for Clone Wars. They've done dropships, ATOTs, they've done ATTEs, everything pretty much. So I love for them to really do a Venator, and then obviously the new Clone Wars season, hopefully maybe we can get like a Bad Batch set or like a Bad Batch shuttle. I think that'd be really, really cool. Obviously getting some more Mandalore sets, including Maul and Ahsoka kind of fighting and stuff like that. So as far as sets that haven't been made, I definitely have to go with that. Next question here comes from Fresh Bricks. If you had to delete any LEGO Star Wars wave of sets from existence, what wave would it be? Now, I'm not going to go by wave because in every wave there's always a couple of sets that I like. Honestly, I think in every wave the majority of sets I do find appreciation for. However, I will answer this question if one specific set I'd like to delete from existence. That would definitely have to be the First Order Crab Walker. What is it called? The First Order Scout Walker or something like that. It's an absolutely atrocious set. It's not even in the movie. It looks awful. It looks disgusting. It's $40, way overpriced. Absolutely terrible set. The minifigures are good. I do have to give it that. But the set itself, the Walker, is not even anywhere in the movie at all. Like, not. So that's probably what I have to say. Next question comes from R&T Productions. Would you like Disney to make a Clone Wars real-life action movie like the show? I think that'd be really cool. However, I think The Mandalorian is probably filling that gap. Having 2 live-action series and animated and then more like Rebels and Resistance stuff, or just Resistance stuff coming up, I think that's a lot for Disney to handle. So I'm actually really content with getting The Mandalorian now. If it goes really, really well, of course, I'll support a Clone Wars live-action series. I don't know what it would be about. I guess I'd like to see maybe like the stuff before episode 3 and after episode 2. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys like to see in a Clone Wars live action TV series. What sort of arcs, what sort of stories would you like to follow? Would you like to follow like the Grand War? Or would you like to follow a specific group of soldiers in like a specific outfit of the Clone War army? Next question here comes from Captain Lego Star Wars. If you were a leader of a Star Wars faction, which would you choose? I'd choose the First Order. I'd definitely have to go Empire. Sorry if I sound nasally, by the way. The Empire has the coolest stuff. They have the Death Star, Star Destroyers, they have troops nearly to no end. Like, I just think the Empire is like the coolest faction. Obviously, they don't come out on top in any of the series that we've known. They rarely win any sort of gunfights in the original trilogy, except in like Hoth and stuff like that. But the Empire is just super cool, super badass, so I gotta go with them. Last question for today comes from Lego Guy 1111266. Interesting name. If you were to create a Star Wars movie, what would you do? So honestly, I think the one thing that I would really love from a Star Wars movie in terms of a story would have to be the Old Republic, especially Palpatine's upbringing. I'd love to see how Palpatine grew up and how he sort of came to get these powers. Obviously with comics and stories and books, we know sort of how he rose to power, especially in the Senate and stuff like that. But I'd really like to see his growing up as a kid, his training, especially training in the dark side, what sort of turned him on to become this ruthless villain, perhaps one of the most ruthless and powerful Sith in the entire Star Wars universe. But Palpatine is definitely one of the most iconic figures and iconic villains in Star Wars history, and I think it would be really cool to see the progression of him gradually changing to the dark side, becoming the most powerful Sith, you know, becoming a really old, becoming deceptive, learning all of his tricks. I believe he even like murdered his master or something like that. So I would love to see that unfold as a movie, whether that be an individual movie or a trilogy. I would be content with like one movie just sort of jumping ahead in time. But if they made a trilogy out of it, I definitely wouldn't complain, but I'd definitely like to see the progression of Palpatine, or I guess Sheev Palpatine, and becoming Lord Sidious, stuff like that, just becoming this incredibly renowned, infamous sort of Sith villain that we all kind of know in Star Wars. So guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you all enjoyed this episode of Matt's Mind. Be sure to go ahead and comment your question or topic for discussion down below in the comments. Of course, drop a like on the video and subscribe if you guys are new. Stay tuned later today for an Anaxis live stream. I'll be live around maybe 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time, getting some good stuff done. And of course, you guys will see some more videos coming up later in the week. Until then, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you later, fam. Take it easy.